Jerry T here. Yep, we're out in the garage today. Something big going on. Today, we are going to pull the motor out. I'm going to re-grease it and put it back in. It's my 3,000 mile service. Now, it's something I chose to do, and the reason I chose to service the motor was because I've had a few requests on how to replace the motor. I don't need to replace my motor, but I thought I'd show you guys what it takes to get this thing apart, and it just might not be so difficult as it sounds. It really isn't. Not a lot here. So I'm going to take you step by step through it, and I'm going to go ahead and, since I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and clean my gears and re-grease them. So let's give it a shot. So here we are. Here I thought I'd show some of the tools that are going to be needed to do this job. Okay, we're going to need some sort of hammer. It's not a necessity for this project, but it will make it easier. We are going to need a wrench. We're going to need a 4mm Allen key. We're going to need a T20 torque wrench. Back in a second. We're going to need a 10mm wrench, snips, and some extra ties, and some lube, and of course paper towels. So now some of these things are extras, so I thought I'd show you. You don't need to use, I'm going to use a drill with my torque to take the bolts out for the motor. If you don't have the bits, you can use a set of torque wrenches, and these are torque, not Allen, and I brought a pair of Allens to show you the difference. Or you can use a torque wrench. Okay, what you don't want to do when you're using a drill is you don't want to put too much into it and strip out your screws. So this is probably the best way to do it if you don't feel you have a feather touch. So that's the way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this stuff because, oh, I also want to tell you too, if you're worried about not having a torque wrench, if you've got a set of drill bits like this, you're going to have a set of torque wrenches, torque nuts, and they would be back in here. The ones you probably never use. So, but they are there. So really, this is all you really need. The 10mm wrench is to show. I'll show you when we get to it. It'll help get the wheel off the bike itself. It's a little trick that I've even seen bike pros struggle getting tires off. So, but we'll make it easy today. So this is our tool setup. We have the bike, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to position your bike in place. The first thing we need to do is we need to prepare our bike and get it in position so that we can get to the back wheel. We can remove it fairly easy. Now the move I'm going to do now is something you can do whether you want to clean your bike, get in the chain area to clean really well, get up underneath it. It's really, it's a great move. It's a good position to put your bike in for servicing or work. I recommend you do it with 2 people. It's much easier and safer. I've done this so many times, it's very easy. So I am going to explain. So let's get our workbench out of the way. Go ahead and wheel this off. All right. To prepare the bike, the first thing we want to do is make sure we get anything off the back of the bike. If we have our seat up real high, we should lower that down. If we have any mirrors or anything protruding very high off our handlebars, you'll want to remove those because we're going to flip this bike upside down and relax it on some 4x4s on the ground here. So if you don't have a 4x4, you can use 2 2x4s, okay? And stack them on top of each other, okay? But you want at least 4 inches off the ground, and I'll show you in a second. So I've laid down a tarp here, and the tarp will actually help keep the bike from getting scratched up when I do this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grip the back brake handle, and I'm going to hold on to this back brake and not let go, okay? And I'm going to lift my bike ever so gently up. Let's straighten it up. Okay, I've taken the battery out, so we're safe there. I'm going to squeeze the back brake. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the handlebars straight up. And I'm going to come back this way. Now, once I still have the back brake engaged, the bike can't move because the brake's locked. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to reach up. I'm going to grab on to the front spokes, or the front, and I'm going to walk my bike back. Need a little more room here. Okay. It's that easy. It's not that tough. So now we've got our bike in position where we can get that rear tire off. It's easy. We don't have to bend too much and crouch. So, but if you need to service your bike, get up underneath, clear your transmission, clean it out. This is the best way to handle it. Okay, here we are. Now that we have our bike in position where we can do maintenance and get this tire off, the first thing we need to do is, what you want to do is get your camera and take a picture of the orientation of the washers and the lock nuts in there. And you want to do that on both sides. And the reason being is, if you can see in here, you can see that washer that has a notch. What that does, it's a torque washer, and it keeps the motor from spinning. So it keeps it locked into the frame. And that is a lock washer here we're going to have to remove. So once we've got our pictures of our orientation, we know how to put it back together. We need to take these nuts off here. And there's two, one on either side. Again, get our pictures. I'm going to so we have one nut, we have one washer, and then we get down to our torque washer here that will have to be removed to get the tire off. All right, so now that we have the nut and the washer off, we need to remove this torque washer here, and it will come off with one bolt, or one, using your 4mm wrench. We'll take that off. And we want to make sure that all the washers and screws are kept together. And we're going to go ahead and just slip this off. We'll give you a good look, and you can see how that's keyed. It's flat on two sides, and so is okay. We'll get the other side off. That's a little. Be real careful as you got an orientation of washers there, and if you can keep them together, all the better. Okay. All right. On this side here, I've had to twist this washer out a little bit. She was in there wedged a little bit, so a screwdriver will help get that out, so it just slips right off. And we'll go ahead and here. Okay. So now, the next step is actually removing the tire. We're that far. That's all there is to it. So now, the trick, the pro tip is your 10mm wrench. Now, because your shaft here, is flat on two sides, your 10mm will fit right over that. And that'll help to shift the tire into place while trying to remove it off the rim. All right, now we've got everything disconnected. Our wheel should lift right out. Ta-da! Okay, now we're going to set up our workbench and show you how to get the actual motor out. All right. Now, in order to get the motor out, we want to find a good workbench. We have one, but I have found this works great. Gives you flat surface to work, and you don't have to worry about the shaft wobbling the tire. So, there we go. So I will show you at this point here, we need to remove these 6 screws, and it should lift the motor right out of there. And we'll do that with our T20 torque wrench. Okay, so I've got my drill here with my T20 torque on it. I've set my drill to low. If you've got a clutch on here, I'd set it low. We don't want to strip out these screws. Certainly don't want to drop the screws like I just did. But yes, that will happen. All right, that wasn't tough. Now, we're going to need to all right, now that we've got the 6 bolts on here, we need to flip the tire over and get this little bushing out of here. It's what holds the cord to keep it from wrapping around the shaft. So that comes out very simple. You just show it a little love, pry it up, hold your cord, and pull that out. So you've gotten it out whole. Put this back over. And couple glove taps. Voila, la mota. So this is the part that just slips right in and out. So this would be your old motor. Your new motor would just go right in. So. Clean this up. And it's really not that bad inside there. So. All right, for those of you who watch this video to show about the re-greasing of your planetary gears, we'll move on here. If you're replacing your motor, it's just a matter of dropping it back into the shell. So what I've done is I'm inspecting my planetary gears here, gone through, and I'm just go ahead and I'm gonna add a little grease to the inside and the outside. So to show you what I'm doing here, let me move that over here. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a little bit of this grease or lubricant and I am just running along my planetary gears with some new grease into the teeth. You don't need a lot. You have 3 sets of gears here. And a little grease on each gear side. And there we go. The gears look good. The grease wasn't bad, but for 3,000 miles, we want to make sure. So let's go back and start a reassembly. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my cord down and feed everything in. And down she goes. Make sure that nice and tight. Now I'm going to remove my glove because they're sweaty. Another pro tip. I'm going to take these 6 screws and we are going to put a little thread lock on each one. So these are the screws that will hold the plate back in. I don't want them to come loose again, so. Whether you're adding an accessory to your bike or you're tightening up a loose bolt, thread lock. Always add thread lock. You'll never have to mess with it again. I hear people talking about, oh, I had to fix my kickstand. Oh, it just keeps getting loose. I've done it once. Put this on and never had to worry about it. So. All right. So let's, now that we've added the thread lock onto the screws, you don't gotta crank them. It's not a small block Chevy you're repairing. And if you have a clutch on your drill, that will keep you from too much torque. If you don't, just a typical T20 torque hand screw driver will work just as good. You don't need to have all the fancy stuff. Get this job done. And our last one. Okay. Flip our bike back over, or tire, and we have to put our washer back in. That will keep the cable from slipping around, torn up. Okay, now that we've got our motor actually back in, we've got bolted back into place. We put our washer here that will hold that into place. To keep the cord from fraying, we can go ahead and reset. Now, don't forget you got 2 flat spots on your shaft here. So you want to make sure you have it lined up correctly. All right. Now that we have everything reassembled and put back together the way we took it apart, we've taken pictures, we checked that, we can go ahead and do a test ride. Now, if any of this seems difficult or confusing or impossible for you to do, please find a certified mechanic that can help you. There's a few out there that will service bikes they don't sell. I have a mechanic that I go to when I need help, and so do the same. So hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, text me. I'd be happy to get right back to you and help you get through this. Thank you for watching. Jerry T out. All right, back from a test drive. Everything's fine. Everything seems good. The bike runs smooth as silk, so I can't complain. I'm happy to know that my planetary gears are fine. I've got some grease in them, and after 3,000 miles, I'm ready for another 3,000. So, again, this whole project, it took me probably about an hour and a half, and that was me recording, turning the camera, moving things around, checking angles, going inside the house and cooling down because it's so hot out here in the garage. So, you know, it can be done faster, but speed isn't what it's all about. It's not that difficult of a project to do. But again, I understand the trepidation and the nervousness of replacing a motor. It's really not that bad. I hope I've helped some people. I hope that this video helps. If you have any questions, contact me or contact your support personnel, and hopefully you'll be able to get this project in your particular instance wrapped up, taken care of, okay? Again, Jerry T out. Thanks a lot for stopping.